Hey, what's up, YouTube? We are back with another Helldivers video. In this one, we're going to be talking about the Redacted Regiment and the Warbond that has just previously been released. We did our massive stream today, testing everything on it, and including the new Commando missions. We're going to be talking about best practices and what I noticed worked as far as like effective strats and just like general feedback on both the Warbond and the missions itself, just like my general thoughts and wishes for the future, because there are a couple things that I hope that possibly they can address and improve for both. Getting into it first, though, we are going to be talking about the Warbond. For those wondering, this is like the stealth-oriented Warbond, so you're going to see a general theme across the board here. And if you're wondering, like, why isn't this weapon as powerful as this weapon? It does seem like the game developers are definitely favoring silenced weapons as like a positive in that weapon. So like talking about the first weapon that we're going to be looking at here, it is the Censor. It is a marksman rifle along the same lines as the Amendment. If you put both of them next to each other as far as like stats for stats, you're going to notice that the Censor does less damage, but it ends up coming ahead as far as like stealth orientation, right? And they actually did a patch alongside this Warbond that actually buffs silenced weapons in general. Both the ammunition creates less noise when flying by an enemy, and a bullet can fly about almost a meter away from an enemy, maybe 2 meters before they notice that they're getting shot at, which is pretty cool. So stray bullets are not like affecting enemies, but that also has the effect of if you shoot like two robots next to each other, and let's say in this perfect scenario, they're facing away, you shoot one on the left, kill them immediately. The one on the right might not hear it just because the bullet did not travel close enough to him. Second thing that they did is your firing sound is like 50% reduced. And what that means on like in actuality, in actual gameplay, is that I got up to about 13 meters away from an enemy just shooting the ground before he actually looked at me and got mad. So you can get very close to enemies around you without actually aggroing them, which is pretty neat. And it's actually like in real world sense, you're starting to notice a loud weapon versus a quiet weapon. A loud weapon, you're probably aggroing enemies around you like around 50 meters or so. Whereas with the Censor, it's a lot less. So silencers definitely feel like they have more of an impact now. And you're going to see in some of these clips for the Censor, I'm like taking out like maybe 5 to 6 robots, and they're like pretty tightly compact. And for the most part, they're not really aggroing until they actually like 3 or 4 kills deep, or just if they're far enough apart, they're not aggroing at all, which is pretty neat. So for those that are really looking for that silence-based gameplay, you're starting to see that with silenced weapons. And I love the Censor. I already loved the Amendment, and I'm really liking the Censor. You're one-tapping Devastators in the eye. Going for leg shots was not too bad. I think it was like 4 to 5 shots to the leg. One shot, most small bugs. Obviously, it is only light pen, so keep that in mind. But if you're hitting your weak points, which you should be going for with a marksman rifle, you don't really notice it. And I used it quite a bit in the new Commando missions, just fine. Just make sure that you have maybe medium pen or explosive damage somewhere else in your loadout for those moments where like, hey, you got to take out a tank's rear end, or you're having trouble like dealing with this particular enemy and you can't see his weak point. You know, you can just swap to it. So definitely recommend the Censor. As far as like a ranking, off the top of my head on first day, B+, solid, maybe even touching into A-. It's not as strong as the Amendment. I would gladly give up the Silencer for some more damage and durable damage, but that's not saying that like it's a bad weapon. It's just I prefer to have some more upfront damage, and I don't mind if more enemies are particularly looking at me. But if you're someone who likes stealth, Censor will definitely look at that as a good weapon. Re-Educator is probably the most silenced weapon in the game. We saw Jojo say, the lead QA dev, it basically that the weapon is like one of the most silenced in the game, and like it's even more silenced than silencers. I didn't get proper testing on this, but this is just something that they mentioned. It's essentially just a weapon that shoots a dart, and that dart affects them with the gas debuff, the one that confuses and deals damage over time. It seems to be medium pen. It doesn't actually list it here, but it does seem to be medium pen. So yeah, you can in fact affect a lot of enemies from the front. You could in fact kill a charger over time. It would take a while, but you could. I think I saw someone comment that they actually killed a stingray with it, the flying illuminant enemy. So not bad. It was fun. One thing I had to make sure I was doing was I wasn't reloading every single time I shot it. It does have a capacity of 6 and a decent amount of ammunition overall. That's a theme for all the Warbond weapons, is that they're definitely starting to realize that they're giving enough ammunition for a lot of these weapons. Like the Censor always felt like it had enough ammunition, and same for the next weapon we're going to talk about, which is the AR-50 9 Suppressor. It's a close cousin to the Liberator Carbine, whereas the Liberator Carbine has a little bit faster fire rate at 920 and a little bit more damage at 90 versus 80. The two of them, you would have somewhat of a hard time seeing the difference. The AR-59, though, gets quite a few attachments. We'll show that off in a second. Yeah, I enjoyed using it. Once again, silencers are definitely working, and you'll hopefully see in the clips that like you're able to take out quite a few small enemies like sort of near each other and not have too much trouble. Going for the Eye of a Devastator, I believe it's like 3 hits, and it does have a burst fire function, so you could go for that. Quite a few attachments to go through, which we will talk about in a little bit, but solid weapon. Probably closer to like the Liberator in terms of power. It's not quite the Liberator Carbine, but it was very fun to use, very satisfying, good sound, and useful. As far as ranking, I'm going to say B to B+. It's like middle of the road, not on the lower end, but obviously with a lot of weapons, especially versus bots, it's going to favor accuracy. But when I brought it to bugs and Illuminate, felt fun. It just felt fine. I'm not saying like I'm not going crazy over it. It's no coyote or anything like that, but it felt good. Talking about the armor now, just a little more. It is the Halo ODST armor, but without the leg, preventing leg damage, right? So if you look at the ODST armor, if you take leg damage, like you can't break a leg, you know, and you get slowed down because of that. That doesn't happen on the ODST armor, but what they did here was they removed that and they just buff the 2 here. So you're making less noise when running, and you can see things farther when you're just like running around, basically like discovering points of interest and stuff like that, which is decent for even credit farming if you're having trouble finding POIs. Less noise while movement. I did notice it when sneaking around bases. Like when I was trying to be stealthy, it is noticeable. When you're full sprint, you do make a decent amount of noise. Like enemies out to like 50 meters or so could start to like hone in on you and look towards your direction and then actually visually spot you. That happens a lot less with this armor on, which is nice. I still don't think it's like that good of an armor, but if you're going for a stealth playthrough, pretty good. The C4 pack. This one I have mixed feelings on, because as someone who's played Battlefield and has played Recon with C4 or played any game with C4, it's fun to use, either from like an aggressive standpoint of like throwing over a wall, blowing up, or just like planting and running away. It's got a cool play style to it. Problem is in this game is that it's still using this like awkward swap between mechanic between the 2 fire modes of deploy and blow up. And you have to either open up the window or use the new keybind to swap back and forth. And even then, when you use a new keybind, it is very awkward. It's not the classic like left click to deploy, right click to blow up. That's the way it should work. It's more left click to deploy, open up the T menu, 1 to the right, back out, then blow up with the same left click. Or left click, press your keybind that hopefully you found in your combat settings for 1 to the right, and then left click again. And even then, it's a bit awkward. I do really hope that they continue to look at like and refine how it feels to use the C4 pack, because it would feel so good if it was just more seamless. Second point to it is it feels like it's a little bit lacking on damage. I expected to do a little bit more damage than it does. As far as like number of C4 to kill, it was 2 to the face of a Bile Titan, and yes, it was pretty hard to throw it at a Bile Titan. Keep in mind though, if you throw it and the Bile Titan is spitting at you, it blows up the C4 as you're throwing it. So you could get in a situation where you throw it, it spits, and you blow up yourself. Careful. It can one-shot a behemoth charger, but I found it had to land like kind of where you would expect like the ears of the charger. Like it's still in the face, but it's like farther back. And I think it's multi-hitting the leg and the head at the same time. If you got it on the butt, it seemed if it was an armor part on the top, it wouldn't one-shot the butt. But if it was on like the soft underbelly, it would. Spore charges, no problem. Normal charges, no problem one-shotting them. 2 for a harvester, at least landing on its head. And for a like Hulk, one-shotting to the faceplate. Tank, one-shotting to the main body or to the turret, which was nice. Factory Shrouders, 2 to the belly, which was a bit disappointing, and then 3 basically anywhere. It didn't matter if you hit him on the head or on the main body, just kind of throwing it at the Factory Shrouder, just kind of kill it. 3 though, it's okay. You're throwing them from about 50 meters, 55 meters on average. If you do wear the throw increase armor, you can get to about 80, 85 meters, depending on terrain, uphill or downhill. So pretty good. You can throw it pretty distant, but it's not as easy to use as just like point and click recoilless or like one-shotting the recoilless or something like that. I just felt as if sometimes it was a little unreliable in terms of its damage. Its explosive radius is fairly low. So as far as like ad clearing with it, throwing down at a bunch of Devastators, killed in maybe a 5-meter radius very reliably. Outside of that, it was just kind of knocking them around. So I have the mixed feelings on that. The next thing that I want to talk about is how it deals with like structures. It one-shots fabricators, one-shots bug holes, one-shots UFOs, even with the shield up, which is pretty decent. But one thing that I was so surprised at, and I just found myself like, what? Bile Titan holes. For some reason, Bile Titan holes do not get one shot by the C4 pack. And it's a pass-fail system. It doesn't matter how many you throw at it, it does not blow it up. It absolutely should, especially since dynamite was changed to allow it to one-shot a Bile Titan hole. This is a support weapon, and you would assume it kind of would because of it being C4. It's supposed to be destructive. I don't want to see it like all of a sudden like blowing up like sensor towers and bot jammers and stuff like that, but it should probably be able to blow up a Bile Titan hole. I don't know. I don't think it should be the way it is currently in that regard. But if they were to improve the usability of it and maybe give it a little bit more damage so it's more reliable versus things like, behemoth charges and stuff like that, I think it would be in a good spot. It's not going to be like some like A+ tier kind of stratagem. I think because it is, I didn't quite explain this, but it is a support weapon and backpack. So it's competing with things like autocannon and recoilless and, so on and so forth. It's not your Quasar, or it's not like an EAT where you can actually have a backpack alongside. You're taking up both slots. So it does definitely need to be a little bit more useful, both from like an objective standpoint, but also a damage standpoint. I think the most meta placement for this is probably going to be versus the Hive Lord. I have no footage of this. This is mostly theoretical, but what is nice is you can throw out the 6 packs really fast, detonate them, go pick up a supply backpack, which will fully restore all 6, throw all 6, detonate, and you could just keep doing this on that stomach faceplate. And the DPS of it would actually be substantial versus something like a recoilless, which, a lot of people tend to go for just because it's a very reliable damage against a weak point on the Hive Lord. If I saw 4 people doing that, or just like one person throwing continuously and one guy resupplying with a resupply backpack, that would be some substantial damage to take out a Hive Lord. Obviously, you gotta be pretty close to the worm as he's like running away from you sometimes, but it should work pretty damn well, which is interesting. But as far as like running and gunning, it's sometimes hard to throw at those like particular weak points. And because like what we talked about before is like the ergonomics of like swapping between the blowing up state and the throwing state, it can be a bit awkward. So solid to start off. I'm probably gonna put it somewhere in like the B tier for right now, but I think it could be higher if it like started up blowing up Bile Titan nests and it was just easier to use. So yeah, Lure Mine didn't get too much time to test with this one, but it's fun. What it does is you can throw it. It's kind of like you're like chucking it. It's not like a proper like grenade throw. You're only throwing it maybe 20 meters at most. And what it does is it deploys like 3 bright red lights. Enemies walk towards it. They will try to shoot at it too. And sometimes they'll blow it up before they get to it because they will sometimes shoot at it, but they'll actually be attracted to it. And then it blows up and it does like a substantial amount of damage, but some of it is tied to fragmentation. I'm not sure yet on what part of it is explosive damage and what part of it is fragmentation, because what I found for Hulks at least is like I was able to one-shot one of them and it took 3 for another one. And it might be because like the Hulk actually walked over it and then blew up its like back thruster and one-shot it, or it could be something like the fragmentation does the substantial amount of damage and it just hit better on one Hulk and hit really poorly on another. So not sure about that one. I want to do more testing and I will be going into that on stream. If you guys don't know, I stream on YouTube under Maplewood_TV. It's an alternate channel, this one, or I'm on Twitch, same username, Maplewood_TV, 3 a.m. EST, which is about like 9 a.m. CET for you those in Europe, to about noon-ish Eastern Standard Time. That would be like 6 p.m. CET. So we'll be doing a lot more testing on that. Next, going into the booster, Concealed Insertion. It works just like the other Hellpod-like ones. Hellpod lands, it erupts in Thing. This one is smoke. Pretty useful. It can screw over your turrets and stuff like that, so just be aware of that. Let's say you like have this on and your turrets are coming down. It will in fact cause like a smoke plume and your turret will be blind for a little bit of time. That does kind of suck, but if let's say you're not doing turret-based gameplay and you're just like trying to do stealth on your resupply or on your respawn, you will be hidden from enemies. The sound of the pod hitting the ground may alert enemies, but at least they won't see you, so they won't be hostile immediately. But it is basically just like a smoke grenade in terms of radius, which is about about like 10 to 15 meters radius, which is pretty good. Pretty solid, and it was useful at times. Next, going to the Superstore, it is just a light armor. I think it's Kylo Ren inspired, if I do say so myself. Pretty cool. If you're wondering what the smoke grenade is, it says smoke screen. It's not like it's a bigger plume or anything like that. It's literally just an impact smoke grenade. You get 5, same size of plume. It was all right. Wouldn't really decide one or the other. It's mostly preference. I guess smoke screen might be a little bit better, but it's about the same. It's all right. It's nothing crazy. Overall, the Warbond is like, it reminds me a lot of when we got Truth Enforcers, where it was like an okay Warbond. There was like some good and then some like in it. And that's what it kind of feels like here. It's like a solid B minus Warbond. You're not meta changing here, but if you're a stealth enjoyer, you're probably going to rate it much higher. But if you're not someone who's regularly interacting with stealth or doesn't want to interact with stealth, it's pretty You're probably going to enjoy other weapons over it because statistically they are just worse weapons with a silencer, and the silencer is supposed to bring them on par with one another. But if you don't actually appreciate the silencer, you're just going to think of it as a worse weapon. And then the C4 it needs a little bit more oomph. It kind of reminded me, like I had a very similar feeling to when we first got Dynamite from the Borderline Justice Warbond. I found Dynamite to be kind of lacking and it needed more. And I was so happy when they recently changed Dynamite to be like the powerhouse that it is now. And I'm kind of hoping that C4 kind of sees a similar kind of change in the future. I will always say that Warbonds are like fine wine. They get better over time. And that's just true for basically every Warbond out there, except for those crazy ones that maybe release with something absolutely insane and then they tune differently afterwards. It's not a bad Warbond, but it's also not like an insane Warbond. All right, now going into Commando missions. Now this is a side objective that has popped up alongside this Warbond. This is a new mission type only for automatons right now. And how it works is it's kind of like a stealth mission, more or less. Let me just go up to tier 10 to show you. There are only 3 types of missions that are with it. You have secure black box, you have extract with intel, and you have acquire evidence. This is actually with a movie camera. You have to pick up the movie camera and then go to those real looking parts on the map. And then you like kind of like aim in on it and you like film it with like you're using a weapon. You like fire the weapon and you film it. Pretty cool. I like it. Really interesting. And honestly, we just wanted a camera. And if you go first person, there actually is like a first person view in it. It's kind of cool. And you can disable the HUD, and we did that. We were messing around. It was pretty cool. Intel is basically just like small little bases. You walk in, grab the intel, walk out. You don't have to like hold it. It's just like a grab and go. It's not like the black box, where the black box is actually literally like you grab a physical like yellow thing and you got to bring it to extract with it. So now you might be like, what are all these other symbols on it? Basically how it works is your ship is kind of like missing in action because you're behind enemy lines. I guess because there's too much anti-air in the area that your ship just can't stay there. You're kind of like a special forces unit. Black Hawk goes in, drops off the troops, leaves. When you're done your mission, it comes back to get you. Now, there's a little bit of a twist on that because you're like, well, how do you respawn and stuff like that? Well, when you first land, you will not have any reserves. Your ship will be there for about a minute and you'll be able to throw all your stratagems out for the first minute. But after that, your ship leaves and you can't respawn. But you kind of can. There's a bunch of reinforcement pods stuck in the ground. I like the way they've done that, and you can get that. But you do have a finite amount of respawns. And when you do respawn, if you died on this side of the map, you'll respawn over here and you have to run all the way back. So keep that in mind. The other thing is you'll have one opportunity to call your ship in for 1 minute. So any stratagems that you so desire on your mission, you'll be able to use for 1 minute. And that comes into where I don't really love this mission, is because the stratagems you pick don't really matter very much, other than like maybe the support weapon and backpack that you choose, because you only get to call your ship in or use any red stratagems for a total of 2 minutes right at the start of the mission. And like at some point during the mission, you'll be able to call your ship back and then use some more stratagems, either calling in another support weapon or using some red stratagems, which sounds cool in theory. Like, oh, okay, it's like just kind of like a get out of free jail card. Like occasionally you'll be able to call in your stuff. But when you realize that it's a normal spawn, it does cause you to want to only play stealth or just avoid combat, like running away. And it makes so that only 2 of your stratagem slots really feel impactful, whereas the other 2, you're mostly just choosing for like, oh shit, there's too much stuff in front of me. I need to deal with it. Let me call it. And then you have no other way of getting your ship at any time. It's not like during extraction it comes back or any other time, which becomes a pretty glaring issue in terms of strategy, because the strategy basically is spawn next to the mega nest or the mega base, call in your red stratagems, call in your stuff, clear the base, and then go through the mission regularly. Try to avoid combat here and there, get away from bot drops, just stay away from them. The other strategy is also you have to intercept the convoy, try to bring some anti-tanks so you don't have to use your red stratagems, but mostly just basically spawn next to the mega base, take it out with your red stratagems, and then run over to the intercept convoy, call in your Cipher, do it again for them, or vice versa. You could do the intercept convoy first and the mega base afterwards, doesn't matter. Collecting the lives on the way and then doing the mission elsewhere. Everything worked really well other than the super destroyer mechanic. I was not a huge fan. I feel like maybe the ship should have come in at timed intervals or maybe given you more cooldowns on it. I don't know. I guess they're really pushing for you should be more self-reliant and you're doing a stealth mission, but it kind of like brings us too far from what makes Helldivers. And like some people were saying, like it's kind of like a cave mission, but not a cave mission. Whereas at least with the cave missions, you could reliably just always call in stuff and you just have to find some space up above to be able to do it. But alas, yeah, as far as like what stratagems I was mostly using, it was like recoilless, AMR, some kind of backpack, like the resupply backpack. Because remember, you won't be able to resupply yourself very regularly unless one of your teammates calls back their destroyer and calls in a resupply. Because that's another thing, is that you can't constantly call in those resupplies. You can only do it like one teammate calls back their destroyer, you wait a couple of minutes, another teammate calls in their destroyer. So it's a little more strategic in that regard, but there is a fair bit of ammo just laying around the map. But if you don't want to worry about that, supply backpack meta is still there. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really neat mission type, and I'm glad to see some more variety. I'm hoping to see these missions expand to the other factions, especially Illuminate, which are definitely feeling the most limited on like mission variety and enemy variety. So hopefully they can at least bring those over to Illuminate and hopefully bugs in the future. So yeah, that's the video for today. Just a heads up, if you didn't catch it earlier in the video, I am going to be streaming more Helldivers on Maplewood_TV, both on YouTube and on Twitch. So come on by, consider leaving a like on the video, subbing for more content. And yeah, just come on by the stream and let me know what you guys think of the Warbond and the Commando missions. I'm really curious. Much love, YouTube. Peace out. Bye.